Hi, I'm Garth Fielding, and I'm here to talk about my favorite flatwound bass strings, the D'Addario Chromes. They go from 50 to 105s. I've been asked frequently how I get the vintage tones I do when I'm doing recordings, and those mid-60s, late 60s classic Motown and tic-tac style bass tones. And the right bass strings are very, very important to that. The D'Addario Chromes offer you the classic flatwound tone, but they also offer you something that other flatwounds don't. Flatwounds will give you that warm, thuddy, woody tone, but generally speaking will not give you this. Really good driving, like rock tones. You can hear very strong fundamental, great sustain, and a warm, woody, kind of scooped tone that you look for in a flatwound string. Now these strings let the sound of the bass really come through, and this is a stock 57 bass. It's a reissue. There's no modifications here, it's just a straight up bass. Wide open, everything's wide open. You can hear the tones that are coming out of the bass. So much of this has to do with the string. I've used every other type of flatwound bass string. I also find that they're a one-trick pony, and these strings give me a lot of different tones, which are important. As a producer and as a bass player, I'm using the bass, numerous basses to use numerous tones, and I can get vintage and classic style tones out of it. Now I've been asked how I've been getting some of those tic-tac tones, a la Joe Osborne, Carol Kay, which I believe she played on a lot of the Beach Boys stuff, and Joe Osborne did all the beautiful work with the Simon and Garfunkle stuff in the 60s. And that is monumental bass playing. It's phenomenal bass playing. And unfortunately I don't think the stereos even at the time could capture most of the things that they were doing, but now you can really hear it. To get those tones I use a pick, I use a medium, and I do a lot of muting with my palm, and I've rolled the tone down just slightly on this bass. And it reacts beautifully to the amount of pressure I put on the mute, and even fully muted with my palm, really putting some pressure on them. They don't go out of tune, and they stay true to their tone. So the old Beach Boys tune, and I don't know if it's right, but that's the tone. Add a little slapback echo, scoop some of the lows out when you're mixing it, and there's your tone. And the tone is really coming from the strings that you're using as much as your hands, and obviously the P bass or the Rickenbacker or the Hofner is going to give you that tone, because that's really where it's at. But I've gotten those tones out of modern basses, out of Ibanez's, out of a number of different brands, and even though there's a 50 here and it goes down to 105, there's no more noticeable tension to the string, which is really fantastic. Now to get the Jameson tone, which is another obvious favorite tone, or the Jerry Dumont tone, or any of those, Bootsy Collins when Bootsy played with James Brown, you got to use a piece of the magic foam. So the magic foam goes in, and normally I would put my my bridge guard over this and just leave it on there, but I'm just showing you some different sounds that I go for and people have asked me about, and I've had students that I've shown this kind of technique to. With the dampener, and then I go about half as far as the tone goes. Mayfield tone, and it's really a Paul McCartney tone as well. Now listen to that low, that E string, great pop, thud, wood, great woody tone. both. You can use your fingers with the mute, or with the mute also with muting with your palm, which is the double mute technique, which really gives you a terrific tone, and you really want to roll up your tone for that one, especially if you're not a hard picker. Now you can hear those tones, hopefully. Beautiful. Again, that Paul McCartney tone, this time using the pick. Now, an integral part of getting that tone, and people have asked me that also, yes, it's your fingers, yes, it's your hands. Super important are the strings that you're using, and in this case, my D'Addarios. But the preamp is very, very important, and the compressor is very important. So as part of the recording signal chain, those are really, really important, but they start with the quality of the strings that you have, because strings will color the sound of your bass. They'll color the sound of your fingers, the pick, the amplifier that you're using. And again, I'm using an amp here with no compression. If I was just going directly into a compressor, pre-compressor right into the recording, whether it's a Mac or I'm going to tape, which I love to do, it's going to give you a real even tone. And you want to, because of the traditionally passive recordings, you want to move that level really high up, and you really want to compress it. And that's going to give you that tic-tac tone. You add a little bit of slapback echo onto it, and you've really got that tone down. I can't stop playing that sound. I love that tone. And getting again back to the finger technique, using the hook, right? Is that what he used to call it, Jameson? John Paul Jones used to use that one finger too. Great sounding strings. So for that classic tone or modern tone, the D'Addario Chromes, the XL, the Black Label, wonderful sounding strings. They last forever, and good luck.